Hello guys and welcome to another video where I will go through the newest patch that Blizzard released. It will be mainly focused about duels and I am gonna mention some stuff about Battleground. Stay tuned and watch till end. Blizzard added new passive cards that are going to affect all the classes in the future. Without further interruption, let's dive straight into the cards and explain how and what classes will they fit in the most. Before we continue, I would kindly ask if you can like and subscribe to my channel if you find this video helpful. It is free and you will make my day by doing that. Thank you in advance. Now let's continue. The first passive treasure is called Natural Force and it buffs your nature spell damage. This is a very good card for shamans and druids since they can rely mostly on nature spell damage, and also have spell combos as well. Building a nature deck from the beginning is a good way if you land on this passive. Also, you can make your deck hybrid and not relying so much on nature damage, but after this update consider your deck with nature cards when you play those classes. Next up we have fire spell damage, which in my opinion is going to break the meta, especially with mages and also shamans that are fitting in this spot. Consider your fire spells in the beginning or after turn 1 because this could be a game winner. With such bursts that mages have, adding this passive will make them basically unbeatable. Choose whatever fire spell the pools offer and you won't regret it. You can probably end the game by turn 6 or 7 if you have good hand as well. The third passive will be Unholy Gift, which shuffles you 5 cards from Knights of the Frozen Throne expansion. This is triggered at the start of the game and it will not be cast when drawn. They are basically cards that you can play when you draw. The cards are randomly selected and it has some good removal cards. Also, you can get the Lich King and Shadowmourne, which adds value to your deck in the long run. I would rate this passive 5 out of 10, it is not bad but not perfect. The next passive is Bitter Cold, which again is a mage buff. It gives you frost damage and by that the frost spells are even stronger now. Cone of Cold and all the similar cards will be good removal and also cheap since it costs 1 odd 2 mana. Shamans can also benefit from this partially, since they also have some frost spells. Frost Shock will be good for board control since it is 1 mana and will deal 3 damage. Keep in mind next time you choose Shaman, if you get this passive make use of. Next we have the Pool 2 treasures. First one is Expedited Burial. This passive turns all your Death Rattle minions into 1/1 that cost 1 mana. This buffs hunters significantly since they mostly rely on death rates and have the hero power to activate one. You can play Zixer turn 1 and activate its Death Rattle with hero power or play Crazy Death Rattle Leper and Gnome decks. If you get by this passive, always choose it and stack up some good Death Rattles. That way, 12-win streak is not impossible anymore. Mantle of Ignition is another powerful passive which can be used, and considered as removal, depends on the current board situation. This means that you can play big buffs on your minion, and it will cast it on your other minions as well. This can also be used as removal, since the spell casts on its neighbors as well. It means that if you fireball one minion, it will fireball its minions next to that one. This leads to conclusion that pretty much every spell class have advantage. Incredible Trousers is another average passive, where upon casting a fell spell, you shuffle 2 rifts that summon a 3/3 upon drawing. This passive seems alright and nothing crazy, since you need some luck to draw those rifts and you can't rely on. Next up we have Iron Roots. This passive gives your minion on board +2/+2 for each nature spell. With this passive you can easily buff up minions with cheap nature buffs and easily finish the game early. This passive will mostly suit druids. For this passive you only need to choose cheap 1 mana and odd 2 mana nature spells that will ramp up your minions and finish your opponent fast. This will be considered as one of better passives, and OTK combos will start to rise. Bronze Signet is one powerful passive that adds up value row your deck in the later rounds on duels. This could be potential problem at the beginning, since nowadays, and after this patch a lot odd tempo and aggro will be played. Keep in mind that this passive adds value in the long run, and if you have better passive to choose, then choose it, because you will not survive until turn 10-11 if you rely on this passive. As we can see, more damage is added, so you need to be smart. Battle Stance is kind of good passive, and you don't want to pass this one, because it adds aggro, and more damage is always welcomed. Choose this passive if you only don't have better choice. Once again, this is average passive but can be useful. This next passive is what I would never want to choose, in my opinion. It is kinda slow, and value is added only in the late games. You don't know if you survive until game 9 or 10, so I would recommend never choose this passive, only if you have to. As we can all see, damage is buffed this batch, so value loses in the short run. Play smart and only choose this passive if you are confident in your skills, and most important if you know your deck well. This next passive is very valuable in the long runs, because you can use big buffs or big spells that are used in the later rounds of the game. This passive is extremely useful if you know what you're doing. Playing Big Druid can be good in this case. It could be a treasure with bonus effects or spell that you can cast only once, but wished you had a copy. This makes spells main thing if you choose this passive, so be cautious and first take a look at your deck. Next we have Runic Helm. Now, keep in mind that the Lich King card gives you random Death Knight card at the end of the turn. This means you basically have that effect. It is super valuable and necessary to pick this passive at all cost. Cloak of Emerald Dreams is the same as the previous one. Pick at all cost because it is free value and those cards contain some super board control cards. It is always good, early, mid or late game. This passive always keeps value, so pick it always. For our last passive we have Glacial Downpour. This basically adds tempo if you play Frost Mage, and can be useful to slow down weapons and minions since here freezes. It is good choice I think, and it is also good in the long run. Feel free to choose. Moving on, next we have Battlegrounds. Diablo is getting removed, which a lot of people is excited about, and we have a substitute for it. Scabs is coming into Battleground, and his hero power is discover a minion from your next opponent. This can be good because you already can see what your opponent is playing, so you can snipe some pretty good cards. Plus the card will be 2 gold instead of 3, so it is cheaper as well. That's it for today's video folks. If you managed to watch it all the way, I appreciate you, and I would ask you to kindly reply in the comments whether you find this information's useful. Also, if you like to see more videos like this, write down as well.